He rang the doorbell 3 times. I opened the door still in my housecoat, still holding my evening coffee. Clay stood there, Dana behind him, both with suitcases. "Hey, Mom," he said, brushing past me like it was his house. Dana followed, didn't even make eye contact. I looked at the bags. No warning, no message, no reason. Clay dropped his duffel near the hallway rug I'd just cleaned that morning. We figured we'd stay a few days. Work's a mess. Dana needed a break. Dana set her roller case beside the couch, then sighed. "Hope the guest room's not too dusty." I forced a smile. "You should have called. We're here now," he said, already walking toward the kitchen. They ate my leftovers without asking. Left the dishes. Claimed the remote. When I offered to make up the guest bed, Dana said she preferred the one in my room. It had better light. So I gave it to them. I folded my clothes into a laundry basket and took the guest room without a word. At 10:17 p.m., just as I was about to lie down, Clay knocked. He didn't wait for me to open. "Hey, Mom, we'll need breakfast tomorrow." Around 5, I stared. He leaned against the doorframe. "Dana's used to early mornings. You know how she is. Can you have something ready by then?" He wasn't asking. I nodded. He smiled. "Thanks. Just do it okay. And no complaining." He shut the door for me. I stood still for a long time, then walked to the kitchen. Set the alarm on the stove clock for 4:00 a.m. Turned off all the lights, sat down at the table. My coffee had gone cold. The house smelled like someone else now, her perfume, his cologne. The air felt owned. I sat there and watched the numbers change on the microwave screen. 11:42, 11:43, 11:44. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just listened to their footsteps overhead, the sound of drawers opening, a faucet running. Clay hadn't been here in over 6 months. Not since Christmas. He brought a bottle of cheap wine and left early. Said Dana wasn't feeling well. Now they were here. No bags under their eyes, no gratitude on their faces, just expectations. Entitlement. I washed the 2 forks they'd used for dinner. I made space in the fridge for their almond milk and protein bars. I took my red folder from the drawer near the back door and slid it between the cleaning supplies. Then I checked the locks. Twice. By the time I made it to bed, it was nearly 1 a.m. At 4, the alarm beeped. I got up. Boiled water, cracked eggs, toasted the sourdough I'd bought last week. As the sun rose, I laid everything out on the table just how Dana liked it. Then I sat, still in my robe. I poured the coffee, took 1 sip, and waited for their footsteps to come down the stairs. Dana slammed the door. "This room smells like it hasn't been opened in months." I looked up from the sink. My hands were still wet from scrubbing their breakfast dishes. She crossed her arms. "It's cramped. The sheets feel stale." Clay walked in behind her, mouth full of toast. "Mom, maybe we swap. You can take the guest room." I dried my hands slowly. "You're already in mine." He didn't laugh. "Then just make it official." Dana opened the fridge, and I didn't see oat milk. "You know I can't do regular." "I don't usually keep it," I said. Clay raised his brow. "Can you add it to your next run?" I nodded once and went upstairs. I gathered my books, my pillow, the photo of my husband that still sat on the nightstand. I left the closet untouched. Too heavy. Let them deal with it. I carried my things down the hall and set them in the guest room. The mattress dipped hard in the center. The vent rattled. One of the lamps flickered, but I didn't complain. I laid out my clothes in neat piles on the edge of the dresser. No closet space, just drawers and a small chair. That evening, Dana ordered takeout. Clay didn't ask if I wanted anything. I ate a boiled egg and a slice of bread while they watched a reality show on the big screen. My own screen. The walls here are thinner. At night, I heard them talking upstairs. First in whispers, then more freely. "She's soft. Still trying to please us." "Don't get smug," Dana said. We need to get this house sorted fast. Ramona said beach property's rising. It's prime timing. There was a pause, a longer silence. I know how to handle her. Dana's voice lowered. I just want it done before June. June, I pulled the blanket tighter. I hadn't touched the thermostat since they arrived. Didn't want to be accused of running the bill. The window in the guest room doesn't face the ocean. It looks toward the side fence where the weeds grow tall and no one ever walks. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed their voices over and over. This wasn't just a visit. They weren't just tired. They had a plan, and I was the obstacle. At 2 a.m., I got up, quietly, opened the broom closet near the back porch, reached behind the cleaning caddy. The red folder was still there. I flipped it open at the kitchen table. It held every deed tax record and inheritance paper. All in my name. No co-signers, no transfers. I closed it, slid it back where it came from, locked the back door, then made a small note in my calendar, June. By morning, they were already up, lounging on my couch with Dana's laptop open. She glanced up. Hey, Merla. Would you mind picking up oat milk today? I smiled. Sure. Then walked to the laundry room to check what else they'd moved. I set the mug down hard enough for the spoon to rattle. Dana didn't look up. She scrolled through her phone nails, tapping like small hammers on glass. Thanks, she said. Barely formed more breath than word. Clay walked in barefoot hair, messy. Mom? Can you make another pot? This one's too light. He only used Mom when he wanted something. Otherwise, it was Merla or nothing at all. I took the mug back without arguing. Brewed a stronger batch. Poured. Served. The house felt like a kitchen in a hotel they didn't pay for. My home, my counters, my appliances, suddenly theirs. By 9, Dana stood by the door with sunglasses on. We're going to pick up a few things, she said. You should come. You know this town better. Clay dangled his keys. Yeah, come on. You can drive. I hate street parking here. I grabbed my bag. We walked out together, the wind cold along the shore. He tossed me the keys without looking. The grocery store smelled of citrus and disinfectant. Dana filled the cart. Fast artisan bread, imported sparkling water, specialty cereals. She didn't check prices. Clay added supplements, energy drinks, protein packs. Not one item was something I usually bought. At checkout, he held out my card before I reached for my wallet. Smooth, practiced, expected. I didn't say a word. On the drive back, Dana pointed at a cafe. Their pastries are good. Can we grab a box? Clay answered for me. She's driving. Just pull in. I ordered. Paid. Watched them take the warm paper bag without a glance. Back home, I unloaded everything sorted. The fridge pushed their items to the top shelves. Dana reorganized the pantry while directing me like staff move this shift that don't stack so high. She wiped her hands on a towel and left it on the counter. We're heading out again. Meeting friends for dinner. We'll eat late. Clay grabbed a jacket. Can you wash my clothes? They're in the hamper? He didn't say which hamper. I checked all 3. While their car pulled away, I stood in the kitchen, blinking at the quiet. The salt air came through the cracked window. The ocean sounded close, like it wanted to remind me this house used to feel like mine. I cleaned everything, brewed fresh coffee for myself, sat at the table. My reflection in the window looked older than I remembered, less certain, more tired. Silence can swallow a person whole. It can feel like a wall you lean against because there's nowhere else to go. But it can also be a shield, a place to think. By the time they returned, laughing loud, carrying takeout containers, they never offered to share. I had folded their laundry, wiped down the kitchen, and put away the towels Dana left scattered. Dana dropped her shoes by the front door. Clay stretched out on the couch. Mom, can you bring me some water? I walked past him, filled a glass, handed it over. He didn't say thank you. I didn't wait for one. Instead, I went upstairs to the guest room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. There were footsteps above me, drawers sliding, voices low. I listened quietly, the same way I had been listening since the moment they walked in with their luggage. Clay caught me on the staircase before I reached the guest room. "Hey, Mom, do you have an extra set of keys?" He twirled his car fob like it was a toy. "Just in case something happens. You know emergencies." I tightened my grip on the railing. "The spare's in the drawer by the back door." "Great," he said already, walking past me. "We'll take it. I went to the kitchen to make a simple dinner. Something quick: toast tomatoes, a slice of cheese. I set the knife in the sink, reached for the lettuce, and paused when Dana stepped in. She scanned the fridge, eyes sharp. "Oh, don't touch the new groceries," she said lightly. "They're for us." I looked down at the half-open drawer. "I bought them." "Yes," she said, still smiling. "But we planned meals around them. You don't eat this stuff anyway." She closed the fridge with her hip and walked out. My stomach tightened. I took a dry cracker from the pantry and carried my plate to the small kitchen table, the one near the back door, not the dining table where Clay and Dana spread out laptops and jackets like they owned the place. The house used to sound different in the evenings. My husband's laughter, the television playing softly, the creak of the old rocking chair when I read late at night. Now it echoed with things I didn't recognize. While I ate, I heard them in the living room. Loud, unbothered. Clay telling some story. Dana laughing too hard at something that wasn't funny. It rang through the walls like a reminder. This wasn't my space anymore. I finished eating, rinsed my plate, wiped the counter. Every step felt smaller than the last. When I turned off the lights, their voices carried down the hallway. "She'll agree," Dana said. "Just keep it steady," Clay replied, confident. She's never been hard to push. I stood there in the dark, hand on the switch, breathing slowly. They didn't lower their voices. They didn't worry I might hear. It was as if I'd become furniture, quiet, unmoving, something to step around. I went upstairs. The guest room felt colder than usual. The mattress dipped, the old vent hummed. I sat down and listened to the muffled laughter below. Discarded. That word found me before sleep did. I used to host holidays here. Dozens of people. Music. Food. Clay bringing friends. Me opening the doors wide, telling everyone to help themselves. Now they told me what not to touch. Around midnight, their laughter faded. The house fell into the kind of silence that leaves a mark. I checked the lock on my door, habit, not fear. Then I sat at my small desk and wrote one word on the corner of a notepad: control. Not to remind myself what they wanted, to remind myself what they didn't have. I turned off the lamp and lay down, pulling the blanket to my chin. Downstairs, a drawer slid open, then shut. Footsteps. A soft thud. I closed my eyes and steadied my breath, already knowing where the night would lead next. I jolted upright when the floorboard creaked. The clock glowed 2:03 a.m. I held my breath. Another creak followed, slow, deliberate, too heavy to be the house settling. I slipped out of bed, moved barefoot across the cold floor, and eased the guest room door open a fraction. Light. Thin. Flickering. It leaked from the crack beneath my office door at the end of the hall. Clay. He muttered something under his breath, low and irritated. Papers rustled. A drawer slid open. My pulse thudded hard in my throat. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched the line of light brighten again as he shifted inside the room. After a minute, he turned off the lamp and walked out. Calm. Unhurried. He headed downstairs without closing the door behind him. When the house stilled again, I stepped out fully. The long hallway felt colder than usual. I didn't go into the office. Not then. I went back to bed, lay flat, stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come. only the steady pulse of something shifting, something turning in a direction I couldn't ignore anymore. By dawn, the sky had softened to a pale gray. I waited until I heard their footsteps downstairs, Dana asking where her scarf was, Clay answering like he'd been awake for hours. Only when the kitchen faucet turned on did I move. I walked to the office. The door was partly open, exact as he'd left it. I pushed it wider with one finger. The room carried a faint smell of his cologne, a sharp note that didn't belong. I went straight to the bottom drawer, the one with the property files. The metal handle felt cold in my hand. It was open an inch. My stomach tightened. I pulled it fully open and sifted through the folders. Nothing missing at first glance. Nothing obvious, but papers were out of order. Files were misaligned. 2 envelopes had been flipped backward. He wasn't searching casually. He was looking for something specific. I closed the drawer, pushed it flush against the desk, locked it, and removed the small key. My hand shook only when the lock clicked. On the desk was a stack of sticky notes and pens. I picked up a pen and wrote 2 words on the top of a note. Not again. Then I opened the small filing cabinet beside the desk. Inside were tax documents, insurance letters, copies of old deeds. I selected the ones Clay might try to find, the ones most likely to concern him. I stacked them neatly, tied them with a rubber band, walked them downstairs and into the laundry room. Behind the detergent bottles, the tools, the unused sewing kit, was a narrow gap between the shelf and the wall. I reached there, took out the red folder I'd hidden days earlier, slid the new stack inside, and smoothed the cover closed. The folder felt heavier now, not just from the paper, from the truth it carried. I tucked it deep into the gap, concealed it with an old blanket, and closed the laundry room door quietly. When I returned to the kitchen, Clay was pouring cereal into a bowl, talking to Dana about a timeline. He didn't look up when I walked in. Dana glanced at me briefly. Her eyes flicked to my hands as if checking whether I was holding anything important. I filled a mug with black coffee, sat at the table, and stared out toward the ocean. Their conversation faded behind me, but I heard enough to know one thing: last night was the start, not the end. I took a slow sip, set the mug down, and stood up, already, knowing where I needed to go next. Clay caught me as I was wiping down the kitchen counter. He didn't wait for me to finish. He pulled out a chair, sat, and tapped the table like he owned it. "Mom, sit for a second." I dried my hands on a towel and sat across from him. Dana hovered behind him, arms crossed, posture stiff, like she needed to witness every word. Clay folded his fingers together. "We've been thinking." That tone, smooth on the surface, tight underneath. I'd heard it too many times back when he asked for just a small loan, when he needed a little help to get through another month, another move, another situation he never explained. "We want to expand," Clay said. "Start something real, a new business, a long-term plan." Dana leaned in. "But we can't do it without collateral." Clay nodded as if they had rehearsed this. "If you transfer the house to our name, we can get a line of credit. Not forever, just until we're stable." He said stable like I'd never seen him chase anything but chaos. I glanced toward the window. Beyond it, the ocean rolled steady and slow. My husband used to say the sea taught patience, wait long enough, and everything reveals itself. Clay kept talking. "We're not trying to take anything from you. You'd still live here. Nothing changes for you. It's just paperwork. Just paperwork. Paperwork forged last night. Paperwork dug out of my office at 2 a.m. Paperwork he thought I wouldn't notice." I held my breath for a moment, letting his words settle like dust. "And why now?" He didn't blink. "Because opportunities don't wait. Dana has connections. We could turn things around in 6 months." Dana gave a tight smile. "It's for the family." Family. They liked that word when it benefited them. "I see," I said softly. Clay leaned forward. "Mom, We're trying to build something. All you have to do is sign. It won't affect you. When he was 12, he asked for money to fix a bike he broke. When he was 19, he asked for help, paying off a credit card he opened behind my back. When he was 30, he wanted help with rent just until next month. Every time I helped. Every time the next month never came. I folded the towel in my lap. This house was paid off years ago. Exactly, Clay said. So it's perfect collateral. Dana rested a hand on his shoulder. We'd be grateful. Gratitude wasn't what I saw in their eyes. Expectation, yes. Confidence, yes. Entitlement, absolutely. But not gratitude. I nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Clay exhaled, relieved. Good. We can bring you the papers later tonight. Dana smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. We knew you'd understand. I stood. My legs felt steady, stronger than they had in weeks. I'll let you know. I walked to the sink, turned on the faucet, let the cold water run over my hands. Their footsteps retreated triumphant. When the water warmed, I dried my fingers and walked toward the hallway. The house felt different, lighter somehow. Not because their pitch had convinced me, but because their clarity had. No more guessing. No more wondering why they were here. It was always about the house. The walls around me carried the truth plainly now, and as I stepped toward my office, I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I opened the front door before the second knock landed. Hi, Aunt Merla. Jenna beamed, holding a small bakery box. I was in town and thought Dana appeared from the hallway. Too fast. Too ready. Oh, hi, Jenna. Right. Jenna nodded politely. Yes, I brought something sweet for my aunt. Dana smiled thin and controlled. That's thoughtful. But we're actually heading out soon. Clay has a schedule today and we need the house quiet. Maybe another time? Jenna blinked. I won't stay long. Dana stepped closer. We don't want you stuck in traffic later. Roads get rough near the bridge around this hour. Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but Clay walked in from the kitchen, jangling keys. Hey, Jen. Sorry, we're literally on our way out. Rain check. He didn't look at me. He didn't ask if I wanted her to stay. He just ushered her out with a practiced ease I'd never seen him use on anyone else. Jenna gave me a small frown, pressed the bakery box into my hands, and left with a forced wave. When the door shut, Clay didn't stay a second. We'll be gone most of the afternoon, he called over his shoulder. The door clicked behind them. I stood there for a moment, hand on the cool surface of the bakery box. Jenna's visits were never planned, never timed, never rushed. She'd come by for years, dropping off muffins, helping with groceries, talking on the porch. I wondered how long it would be before Dana made sure she stopped visiting altogether. I put the pastries on the counter and brewed myself a coffee. The house felt too quiet again, as if its walls were shrinking. Around noon, I stepped out back to check the plants. The sea breeze rolled in sharp and familiar. I trimmed a dried stem, swept leaves off the porch, and heard someone call my name from the side fence. Merla. I turned. Ramona leaned on the wooden slats wearing her faded jacket, and that look she gave people when she already knew something wasn't right. Haven't seen you in a few days, she said. Thought I'd check if you're still alive. I laughed softly. Still breathing. Just house guests. Oh, I noticed, she said. Your son asked me something odd. I straightened. What was it he wanted to know about property transfers for seniors? She paused. And if it's normal for kids to help expedite the process. I felt the breeze shift against my face. Ramona watched me carefully. You seem calm about it. I am, I said. You sure? I gave a slight nod. I've lived here long enough to learn when someone wants information for the wrong reasons. Ramona narrowed her eyes. What are you planning? Nothing rash, I said. But I hear things, and I pay attention. She tapped the fence. If you need anything, you knock. I don't care what hour it is. I know. She started to walk away but turned back. He's confident, she said. Too confident. I've noticed. Ramona's gaze softened. You're not alone in this. She meant it. She always had. I went back inside, closed the sliding door, and locked it. Clay and Dana's shoes were still by the front entry, their jackets still draped over my dining chairs, their scent still lingering faintly in the hallway. But the house didn't feel as suffocating as it had that morning, because now I knew something important. They weren't just trying to take control. They were trying to take control before anyone around me could notice. I rinsed my mug, dried it, and placed it upside down on the rack. Then I walked to the laundry room, opened the shelf, and touched the spine of the red folder gently before closing the door again. Their attempts to isolate me had started. Mine to prepare would start next. I typed the alarm code wrong, twice. The beeping grew louder, sharper, until Clay rushed in from the hallway, barefoot, hair mussed. Seriously, Mom. I blinked. It changed again. I thought it was still the old one. Dana came up behind him, sighing like a teacher scolding a child. We told you last week. It's 4386 now. I nodded. I'll write it down. Clay reset it himself, muttering something under his breath. I caught the word liability. I shuffled into the kitchen deliberately slower than usual. Pretending clumsiness took more energy than being tired ever did. The rest of the day I cooked. Folded laundry. Watered the potted palms. I let them move freely through the house. Let Dana slam drawers. Let Clay step into my office once without asking. I just sipped coffee and hummed while wiping the sink. That night, I accidentally left my phone in the living room. It buzzed after midnight, probably a spam call. I didn't go retrieve it. I didn't stir when they started arguing again upstairs. But I listened. Clay's voice clipped, frustrated. She's stalling. Dana sharper. She's doing it on purpose. Old people love control. A pause. Then Dana again, quieter. She'll sign. She's weak. One more push. My hand stayed under the blanket fist, tightening slowly. She wasn't wrong. I had been weak. For years. With Clay. With his messes. His quick apologies. His unfinished promises. I'd made excuses for his behavior so long, I started reciting them before he even gave them. But now I was listening. Letting them talk. Letting them believe I didn't hear. The next morning I made them pancakes. I poured their coffee first. I let Clay take the newspaper out of my hands, didn't flinch when Dana corrected how I folded towels. She watched me too closely. Every movement I made, every drawer I opened, every call I answered in the hallway, even if it was just Ramona checking in. After lunch, Clay sat on the porch, making a list on his phone. Dana wandered into the kitchen. She leaned on the counter like she owned it. So? Any thoughts about the papers I rinsed a dish? Still thinking. We've been patient? I appreciate that. Dana tilted her head. It's just a formality. Nothing changes. You stay, we build. We're family. I dried my hands. Of course. Her tone brightened falsely. That's good to hear. I nodded slowly and turned toward the hallway. That evening I wrote nothing. Signed nothing. I went to bed early. Clay knocked once on my door before midnight. We'll talk tomorrow. I didn't answer. I lay there in the dark, eyes open, heart calm. Let them believe I was fading. Let them think I couldn't hear. Let them plan. Because each time they underestimated me, they told me exactly who they were. And with every lie they whispered, I added one more line to the record they didn't know I was keeping. In the morning, I'd write it all down. I pushed open the door to the diner and spotted her near the back booth. Brown coat, tidy bun, leather folder on the table. Exactly on time. I sat across from her, nodding politely. Ms. Denham, she asked. That's me. I'm Clarice. You requested a notary meeting, I ordered coffee. Let her get comfortable. Then leaned in. I'm not signing anything today, I said. She blinked. That's fine. I just have questions. She nodded. Of course. I pulled a folded paper from my coat. Not a deed, just notes. Questions about asset transfers, revocable trusts, power of attorney boundaries, forgery reporting. We talked for 40 minutes. She answered everything. I listened, took mental notes, asked follow-ups. She didn't push, didn't pry. When the check came, I paid it. Then I stood and smiled. Thank you. You're not in a hurry to sign anything, she said gently. I used to be, I said. I'm not anymore. Back in my car, I didn't drive home right away. I sat in the parking lot, engine off window, cracked open to the salt air. My phone buzzed. A message from Clay. Dinner, Dana wants shrimp. No, please. No, are you okay? Just another order delivered like a grocery list. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and typed a name I hadn't used in years. Mr. Howard Greer, my husband's estate attorney, the man who handled everything after Dale passed, the man who drafted the ownership papers for the beach house, the man who told me, keep copies of everything. You never know who'll come for what's yours. Subject line ready. The message was short. I need to update you. I believe it's time to activate what Dale and I discussed. Please advise next steps. I hit send. Then I opened the glove compartment, took out a plain white envelope with Clay's name scribbled on it, something I'd meant to give him years ago. A note. A set of instructions. But he never came to pick it up. I stared at it now, tucked it back. I wasn't giving him anything anymore. That night at home, Clay didn't ask about dinner. Dana reheated leftovers and left the dishes in the sink. I didn't clean them. Instead, I sat at the edge of my bed, opened a fresh notebook, and listed everything I now knew Clay had searched my files. Dana wanted me to seem forgetful. They were isolating me. They were watching who I spoke to. They believed I would fold quietly. They were wrong. I slipped the notebook into the red folder. Checked the email. Howard had replied. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Call me. We'll begin. I closed the laptop, stood, and turned off the light. They thought they'd baited me into a corner, but I wasn't stuck. I wasn't confused. I wasn't scared. I was waiting, planning, writing it all down. Every move, every whisper, every signal they didn't realize I'd caught. In the morning, I'd make the call. I logged in and pulled up the bank portal. Username, password, verification text sent to my phone. I entered it all, then clicked through to documents. Account, house, mortgage. Then I saw it, refinance request in process. Filed under my name. I stared at the date. Last Thursday, while I was at home making them pancakes. My hands went cold. I clicked it open. New terms. Higher appraisal. Equity release. A second party listed under authorized co-applicant Clayton Denham. No mention of Dana. I scrolled down. There it was. My name. My signature. I leaned back in the chair. My body froze, but my mind raced. The signature looked right. Slanted neat. Same underline flourish. Only I didn't write it. I'd signed nothing in weeks. I opened the drawer, pulled out my actual signature record, the one I kept, from when Dale and I finalized the will. Compared. A small difference in the loop of the RI. The angle of the final A. Most people wouldn't catch it. But I wasn't most people. I printed the document. 3 pages. Thick paper. Ink still warm as I stacked them neatly and slid them into the red folder. Then I took the folder into the kitchen. Made coffee. Let it brew while the house stayed silent. They were out probably checking properties or getting inspiration, as Dana liked to call it. I brought the mug to the table. Opened my phone. Called Howard. He picked up on the second ring. Merla. I found something, I said. Tell me. I explained everything. The refinancing. The signature. The second name. Good, he said when I finished. That's exactly what we hoped they'd try. You never gave power of attorney right, never. Then this is forgery. Plain and prosecutable. I took a sip of coffee. What next? I'll draft the stop request today. We'll freeze movement on the house. Then we document the forgery. You'll need to act like nothing happened. I've been doing that. Then keep doing it, he said. We'll use their boldness against them. I hung up, took the red folder and placed it in the locked chest in the laundry room behind the cleaning rags. They wouldn't check there again. Clay already had once. Found nothing. Assumed it was safe. Later that evening, Clay came back sweaty and smiling. Dana wore new sunglasses and held a bag from a local boutique. They didn't say where they went. I didn't ask. Over dinner, Clay talked about investment potential and timing the market. Dana scrolled her phone. We just need to be decisive. Once it's signed, we can breathe. I nodded and passed the salt. They still thought I hadn't noticed. They still thought I was delaying out of fear. But now I had evidence. Now I had motive. Now I had a paper trail. The kind they didn't realize could talk louder than I ever had. I called Ramona before dawn. She answered on the second ring, voice sharp as ever. Something wrong, I need coffee, I said. And I need you. She didn't ask why. By 7, we sat in the corner booth of the same diner. The one with the faded blinds and cracked vinyl. She wore the same navy windbreaker she always did, the badge long gone, but the stance still firm. I brought the red folder. Set it on the table between us. She raised a brow but didn't touch it. Tell me. I poured everything out. The uninvited visit, the 5 a.m. order, the cold demands, the attempted charm, then the refinancing request with my forged signature, the isolation, the whispering, Dana's steady need for control, Clay's passiveness weaponized into pressure. Ramona listened, didn't blink, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she leaned in, finally placed one hand on the folder. You moved the original deed. I nodded. In a fireproof box. Off-site. You talked to a lawyer, Howard Greer. She smirked. I like him. Quiet. Sharp. She flipped through the printed refinance application. Her expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened on the corner. Forged, she said. Badly. I thought so. We can prove it, she said. Handwriting analysis. But more than that, you have motive timeline behavior. She looked up. You ready for this? I was ready when Clay opened that drawer at 2 a.m. Ramona slid the folder back to me. So, what's your move? I smiled. Let them think they're winning. Let them talk a little louder, push a little harder. I'll keep records, dates, phrases, times. You tell me when you need it. I'll log it. You're baiting them. I'm watching. Same thing she said. We finished our coffee in silence. She insisted on paying. Before I left, she pulled me into a firm hug. You were always the quiet one, she said. But I never mistook that for weakness. I held on a second longer than usual. They did. I drove home steady, calm. The wind off the coast pushed against the side of the car, but I kept the wheel still. Clay and Dana were in the kitchen. She was on a video call showing off the view from the deck. Clay was counting something on a notepad, maybe numbers for the supposed expansion. They didn't ask where I'd been. I didn't offer. That afternoon, I clipped a small audio recorder to the underside of my dining room table. That night, I moved the red folder again. And the next morning, I offered to take them out for lunch. My treat. My car. They agreed too quickly. Both smiled like they'd already won something. They hadn't. I was just clearing the house for someone else I planned to invite. Dana slammed the cupboard. Who was that woman? She snapped. I kept stirring the soup. Which woman? The one who parked outside and walked the perimeter like she owned the place. She didn't walk the perimeter, I said. Calmly. She measured it. With my permission. Clay walked in, looked between us. Mom, why would you bring someone here without talking to us? I turned off the stove. She's with the insurance agency. Annual renewal. Dana crossed her arms. It's disruptive. We're trying to build trust with lenders. You can't keep inviting strangers here. She wasn't a stranger, I said. She was wearing a badge. Clay tried to smooth it over. Stepping in front of Dana. Mom, I think what Dana means is we're trying to help. And you've always been, private. But it's different now. We're family. We're living together. There should be no surprises. I set the pot on the table. Then don't surprise me. Dana cut in. You're being passive-aggressive again. No, I said. I'm being quiet. There's a difference. Clay rubbed the back of his neck. This house, you're really attached to it, huh? I looked at him. I buried my husband here. He flinched. Dana didn't. She pushed her plate aside. You know what I think? I think it's unhealthy. You're clinging to something that should have transitioned years ago. I sat down. Transitioned. Clay nodded. She just means it's time to pass it on. To let someone else care for it. Dana leaned forward. We're here now. We can take over. You don't need to do it alone anymore. You'll still live here, Clay added quickly. Nothing changes, not really. Except the deed. Except the decisions. Except everything. I picked up my spoon and began to eat. Dana waited. Clay cleared his throat. You're not saying anything. I looked up. I'm eating. That night they stayed in the living room again, talking in low voices I wasn't meant to hear. I didn't try to. Instead, I sat in the guest room I'd once called my own and pulled out my phone. Opened the message thread with Howard. Typed, confirm Sunday 5 a.m. Hidden camera ready. He responded within minutes. Confirmed. Doorbell cam log sound. Folder arrives tomorrow. Same backup plan. I placed the phone down, picked up my notebook. Wrote everything from the day timestamps, quotes, tone. Dana's face when she said, transitioned. Clay's hesitation. They were pushing faster now. They thought I was softening. But I'd stopped playing defense. I'd started recording offense. And Sunday morning. That was for them. I dropped the remote on purpose. Dana picked it up, eyes sharp. Smile stretched. You okay, Merla? I don't know what's wrong with me lately, I mumbled. Just scattered. Clay glanced up from his laptop. Maybe you need to rest more. I nodded slowly, rubbing my temples. Maybe you're right. So lucky to have you two here. Dana lit up like a lamp. Of course you are. I smiled. Not too wide. Just enough. Later that morning, I hovered at the kitchen doorway, wringing my hands. Clay, I said quietly, can I ask something silly? He looked up. If I just sign the first page just to get things started, would that help? Dana appeared from nowhere. What page, sweetie? I fumbled through my purse, pulled out a random insurance form. This, I said, waving it. Just warming up, so I don't mess things up later when it's serious. Dana's eyes gleamed. She walked over, took the paper. Let me take a look. This isn't official, I know I said. But maybe Clay could help walk me through the real ones when we do it. Clay tried to hide his grin. Of course, Mom. 1 page at a time, sure. I clapped my hands like a child. Oh, thank you. Dana squeezed my shoulder. See? This is progress. You're finally trusting us. I should have sooner, I said. That night, I overcooked the rice. Said I forgot the timer. Dana offered to take over the kitchen for the rest of the week. I thanked her like she was a saint. They moved a few of their clothes into my bedroom closet. I pretended not to notice. The next morning, I brought Dana coffee extra cream, no sugar. She smiled without saying thank you. I said I'm learning. She sipped satisfied. Yes, you are. Clay brought out his laptop that afternoon. Want to go over a few things, Mom? I can just show you what we have in mind, no pressure. Of course, I said sweetly. Maybe later tonight. He gave me a thumbs up like I was a kindergartner who finally behaved. Back in my room, I updated the log. 10:42 a.m. Dana called me sweetie, after saying I was finally thinking clearly. 1:18 p.m. Clay referenced transition plan again. No legal documents presented yet. 3:45 p.m. Recorded new audio. Dana says she won't know what she signed. I backed it up to the cloud. Moved the red folder from the dresser to the safe in the hallway. Clay thought I kept family albums in there. I deleted my browser history. That night, I asked Dana if she liked the guest towels. She said they were passable. I apologized, said I'd try to do better. She nodded once and walked away. And I smiled. Because they were convinced the house was already theirs. Dana clapped her hands like a game show host. Everyone brunches ready, courtesy of our lovely house manager. She didn't look at me when she said it. I carried out the last tray. Coffee. No sugar. Dana's preference. The folding tables were already covered in cheap tablecloths and store-bought fruit trays, plastic cutlery, loud music. A dozen of her friends I'd never met. Clay sat with them smiling like a kid who'd found a new family. I placed the tray on the patio table, then turned to head back inside. Hold on, Dana called. Could you grab napkins, please? The real ones, not those paper ones. I nodded, once. Turned. She's so polite now, I heard one woman whisper. I mean, she lives here rent-free, another giggled. Inside, I steadied myself against the counter. I opened the cabinet, took out the linen napkins, clean, folded. Walked back out with them balanced on one hand, like I was at a country club. Set them down. Didn't speak. Dana took her mug, took a long sip. Then, without even turning, said loud enough for the group. At least the help knows how I like it. No one laughed. But no one stopped her. I stood there, 5 seconds, then calmly reached out and took my mug, my black coffee, the one I made just for me from the table corner. She blinked. Wait, was that I didn't answer, just turned. Back inside, I sat alone at the kitchen table. I didn't sip the coffee. I stared into it. The doorbell rang once, then again, right on time. I cracked the eggs at 4:30. Quiet. Measured. 2 for each of them. 1 for me. Toast in the oven. Coffee brewing. I set the table with clean plates, silver forks, linen napkins, the real ones. They shuffled in right before 5. Clay, still half asleep, Dana, scrolling her phone. Didn't think you'd actually do it, she muttered. I smiled. You said 5? Dana sipped. Needs more cream. Clay leaned back, rubbing his eyes. So, Mom, did you think more about that paperwork? I placed the plate in front of him, then hers, then sat. Between us, gently, I placed the red folder. Dana's eyes narrowed. What's that? I folded my hands. Breakfast. And something else. Clay reached for it, but I held up one finger. The patio door creaked open behind them. Ramona stepped in, phone in hand, dressed in clean beige slacks and a windbreaker, hair tied back. Clay turned, startled. What? What are you doing here? I think, Ramona said calmly. It's time you both see what she's been seeing. She tapped the screen. Audio played. Dana's voice, crystal clear. She'll sign. She's weak. Clay's voice followed. Just scan it. If she doesn't know it's a refinance, she won't fight it. Dana again, and if she dies before the transfer, all the better. No probate. Silence at the table. Only the hum of the fridge. Clay paled. Dana sat back slowly. Coffee forgotten. I didn't. Clay started. Ramona raised a brow. We've got more. Want to hear what you said about getting her declared unfit? I slid the second page out from the folder. Signature verification report, I said flatly. I never signed that refinance request. But someone did. Dana stood. You tricked us. No, I said. You tricked yourselves. Clay pushed back his chair. Ramona moved closer. Nuh-uh, she said. You sit. He did. Ramona placed a small envelope on the table. This has already gone to Merla's attorney. Copies too. Dana crossed her arms. You have no proof we submitted anything. I do, I said. And so does the notary, and the lender, and my bank. I took a sip of my coffee. Still hot. Still mine. Ramona looked between them. You want to keep talking? Or should we start the next file? Clay's jaw clenched. Dana said nothing. I stood, picked up my plate, walked it to the sink. Behind me, the silence finally grew heavy, and it wasn't mine to carry anymore. Clay stood, then sat again. His hands trembled as he reached for the red folder, but I had already closed it. Dana's eyes darted between me and Ramona, her mouth half open, no words landing. You don't understand, Clay said. His voice, once so sure, broke like a thin shell. I said nothing. Ramona did. Forgery, attempted fraud, financial exploitation of a senior, all documented. Dana snapped. This was his idea. I told him it was too risky. He turned on her. You said we needed the house, that your startup needed leverage. You signed it, she barked. You pushed the fake signature. You told me she was half senile. She is, look at her. I moved my chair back, not fast, not loud, just enough that the scrape of it cut through both their voices. Ramona cleared her throat and placed her phone on the table. You can stop. It's already recorded. They froze. I stood, reached for my coffee, still warm. Clay wiped his face. His shoulders heaved once. Mom, I tilted my head. Not a word. He closed his eyes. We just wanted something stable. Everything's so expensive, and Dana rolled her eyes. Save it. He looked at her like he'd never seen her before. Ramona opened the envelope again, pulled out one more sheet. This has been filed with the local authorities. The bank has the alert. The deed is protected under a trust now. You can't touch it. Dana's face twisted. That trust was mine to inherit. It never was, I said. They didn't speak after that. I walked past them, picked up my mug, sipped. Outside, the wind picked up off the coast. Inside, their silence finally meant something. Clay stood up so fast his chair toppled. Okay, listen, he said, palms out. We can fix this. We'll move out today, right now. Just don't file anything else. Don't make this public. Dana's head whipped toward him. Are you insane? He ignored her eyes locked on me. Mom, we can leave. You can have the house. No more talk of transfers. No more refinance. Just, let's keep this between us. I let the words settle. Clay only negotiated when cornered. And he was cornered. Dana pushed her chair back sharply. I'm not going anywhere. We built plans around this house. I'm not starting over, Clay snapped. We didn't build anything. We tried to steal it. Her jaw clenched. I tried to secure our future. He laughed once hollow. By forging my mother's name, she folded her arms. It's not forgery if she doesn't contest it. Dana, he said, voice dropping. She contested it. Silence. Dana straightened, chin high. Then I'll say something you didn't have the courage to say. She put a hand on her stomach. I'm pregnant. Clay's face drained of color. Mine didn't change. Ramona raised a brow. And that's supposed to... What erase crimes? Dana looked at me. Direct. Cold. It means she has responsibilities beyond herself. I set my mug down. You think a child will make me give up my home? I asked quietly. Dana swallowed. Clay pressed his palms to his eyes. Dana, don't. She needs to know, Dana shot back. This isn't just about us. It's about the next generation. About stability. If she cared about her grandchild, I cut her off with a small gesture of my hand. No shouting. No trembling. Just stillness. Clay, I said, do you want this house or do you want your child to grow up without fraud charges hanging over you? He didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. I reached into my pocket, took out the spare keys Clay had taken from me days ago, the ones he wanted for emergencies. I handed them to Ramona. Her expression tightened in approval. "I'll take care of the locks," she said. "Today." Clay stepped forward. "Mom, don't do this." "I'm not," I said. "You did." Dana's mouth dropped open. "You can't just throw us out." Ramona glanced at her. "I can escort you out now or in handcuffs later. Those are your two choices." Clay's breath shook. "Mom, please." I didn't move. I didn't argue. I didn't soothe. I simply turned toward the hallway, letting Ramona step past me, keys in hand, her footsteps steady as she walked to the front door. Behind me, their bargaining crumbled. Their voices collided, sharp, panicked, desperate, but none of it touched me. Not anymore. I crossed the living room, opened the curtains, and let the morning light fill the house they thought they could take. And then I walked toward the stairs as Ramona unlocked the first door. Clay grabbed the handle and yanked. Nothing. He jiggled it harder. Still locked. "Mom," he called out. No answer. He pounded once, then again. "Mom, this door's stuck." I stood in the hallway, arms crossed. "No, it's locked." His head jerked toward me. Why I didn't answer. Behind him, Dana appeared holding a laundry basket filled with their clothes. She packed our things. Clay turned, saw the suitcases stacked by the front door. His face dropped. I stepped past him slowly. "That room is no longer open to you." "But he stammered. "I need my laptop. My files," I checked. "Nothing in there is yours," I said. Voice flat. "It's just mine now." He looked stunned, then angry. "You can't just. You already tried to just Clay. Remember," I said, then walked into the kitchen without waiting for his response. Dana followed. "Are you seriously locking us out like we're thieves?" I poured my coffee. "You are." Clay stepped in behind her. "Mom, don't do this. Let's just talk." "You talked," I said, sipping. "You forged. You lied. You laughed while I ate alone." The kitchen went quiet. Dana set the basket down. "I'm pregnant." "You said that yesterday," I replied. I thought it mattered. I met her eyes. "You thought wrong." Clay sat at the table, head in hands. "So what now?" "You just want us gone?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The hallway was already empty of their shoes. The guest room was stripped, their toothbrushes gone from the bathroom sink. Dana had found them boxed. Every part of the house was reclaiming itself. He looked around, lost. "We're your family." "No," I said, placing my mug down. "Family doesn't treat you like a burden." Dana's voice rose, shaky. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I turned to her. "You didn't mean to get caught." She flinched. I walked past them and opened the front door. "Keys go to Ramona. She's waiting outside," I said. "The rest is yours to carry." Neither moved. So I walked away, back toward the now locked office where the folder sat safe. Behind me, their silence stretched long and thin, no protests, no apologies, just slow footsteps, gathering bags. And then the front door creaked open. I sliced the envelope open with one swift stroke. Legal seal, my name in bold. 3 pages stapled together, clean, final, decisive. The trust was active, irrevocable. Every asset house account's land in New Mexico moved. Secured. Protected. No cosigners. No dependents. No son. No daughter-in-law. I'd signed it last week. Witnessed. Filed. Notarized. I ran my fingers over the paper. Cool. Crisp. Freeing. A small, yellow, sticky note fluttered out from the flap. "You chose this." I didn't write it. Ramona must have added it after making the copies. I placed the packet on the kitchen table. Sat. Sipped my coffee. They hadn't called since walking out. No apology, no explanation, no fake check-ins, just absence. Good. The locks had been changed, mail rerouted, cameras installed. I was done pretending. That afternoon, I drove to the post office, mailed a copy to Howard Greer, my estate attorney in Flagstaff. Second copy I mailed to Clay's old address. The one he used for mail before moving in uninvited. No return note, no warning. Let them read it. Let them feel it in their hands. The weight of what they lost. I made a stop at the market. Bought eggs, cheese, a small bag of flour. No one rushed me. No one complained. No one told me what to cook or when to wake up. At home, I placed the groceries on the counter. A breeze moved through the curtains. I checked the porch. Quiet. Empty. Then I opened the red folder one last time. Inside the forged mortgage printout, the camera footage transcript, the signed trust summary, and one photo from the brunch. Dana smirking while I poured coffee behind her. I slid it all back in. Tucked the folder in the drawer behind the sink. Not hidden, just placed. Where it belonged. That evening, I opened my laptop. No new messages from Clay, but one from Howard. Confirmed. They are no longer beneficiaries. The clause is clear, even if they contest the trust holds. I leaned back in my chair. For the first time in months, I breathed without pressure on my chest. The kitchen clock ticked. I let it. The house had never felt this still. Not even when I first moved in after Thomas died. Now, it was still on my terms. Later that night, I brewed fresh coffee. Sat on the porch. Wrapped a blanket around my legs. The ocean whispered in the dark. Familiar. Constant. From inside, I heard the soft beep of the security system arming itself. I didn't turn around. Didn't need to. Behind me, the door locked shut. I pushed the screen door open with my shoulder. Stepped into the soft morning light. The porch boards warmed under my feet. I carried my coffee in both hands. The sea stretched wide and quiet. No voices. No demands. Just tide and breeze. I sat. The ceramic mug nestled between my palms. Familiar weight. Faded glaze. On the side, 3 words in bold, still here. I took a sip. Let the heat fill my chest. No breakfast orders barked from behind me. No doors slammed. No Dana pretending not to see me. No Clay pacing the hallway like he owned it. Just gulls in the distance and salt in the air. This house had never been perfect. But it was mine. Every nail, every crack in the floor, every photo I hadn't taken down, even the ones with him in them. I'd scrubbed the kitchen yesterday. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. I'd opened every window, let the wind roll through, blew out their cologne, her perfume, their greed. It was gone now, all of it. Ramona dropped off the final key copy last night. Said she'd drive by once a week, just to check in. No pressure. The red folder now sat in a drawer marked, "Do not touch." I wouldn't need it again, but I kept it. Because sometimes truth shouldn't be burned. It should be stored. Quiet, just in case. My phone buzzed once on the patio table. A message from Howard. Received your signature. Final confirmation done. The house stays with you permanently. I locked the screen, placed it face down. A hummingbird hovered at the feeder, wings frantic, body still. I sipped again. Nothing dramatic would happen today. No one would cry. No one would shout. No lawyers. No cameras. No fake apologies. Just a porch. Just a woman. Just her coffee. I closed my eyes. Let the mug warm my hands. Let the silence settle deep in my chest. Still here, and finally, still mine.